It is another crazy day here in the world of crypto news, and we're going to do our best to situate you in what is going on. There's so much going on. We talked yesterday about a potential acquisition of FTX by Binance, as was reported later in the day. And as we mentioned at the time, that it was looking unlikely. And as was announced later in the day, it did not happen. Binance pulled out of its proposed acquisition of FTX, and now FTX is rapidly careening toward a bankruptcy filing unless SBF, founder of FTX, can raise some funding and potentially work this out. In a lengthy tweet thread this morning, SBF admitted bluntly, I effed up. And he didn't say it like that. He said it the real deal on there. There was plenty of stuff in this thread that exposed his understanding of the current events and the rapid unraveling of FTX and its sister firm Alameda. He also mentioned that Alameda would cease trading in a bid to shore up the SBF crypto empire. Pretty crazy stuff that we are seeing. Tons of additional reporting coming out, including some pretty spicy reporting from the Wall Street Journal indicating that, according to a source speaking on the condition of anonymity, that FTX was lending customer funds to Alameda in a bid to shore up Alameda's shaky finances. If that proves to be true, those are some pretty damning allegations. A lot to get to today, so I'm going to toss it straight to Jen for her thoughts.
Yeah, remember when we were talking about Do Kwon and I said, I just really wish that he seemed empathetic and I really wish that he was sorry. I think that SBF executed on that communication that I was calling for, but I still feel nothing. I feel like you can say you're sorry all you want and you can say that you're for the people and you're really going to try and get this money back. But the actions leading up to this that are being revealed more and more as the days go on, as the hours progress, look really bad. It doesn't really look like SBF did have his retail investors' needs in mind. It looks like maybe some laws could have been broken, or at least some shady deals at least. And so it's disheartening. I mean, I don't know what else SBF could say right now, but this whole situation is just very disheartening. I don't know, given the industry's sentiment on what's going on right now, how he's going to be able to get $8 billion to make his customers whole again. And so just like yesterday, I am completely disheartened. When I read that article that said about $4 billion of customer funds went over to Alameda Zach, it was just kind of mind-blowing. 2 days ago, when Adam was on the show, I said, have we been kind of propping SBF up on this pedestal? Have we not been asking, did we all just miss something that we should have seen coming? I don't know what the answer is to that, but it's just sad. Wendy, what do you think?
There's a lot to unpack. The story is still developing. We're seeing a lot of different things fly around all over Twitter. One thing I think is very, very important to note is FTX US is a different entity of FTX International, because a lot of people are confusing that. FTX US still is processing withdrawals. So again, if you have money there, you might want to consider removing those funds, and you might want to consider removing funds from any centralized crypto exchange and using self-custody. It's important to keep reiterating that. I think the story will continue to develop. There's going to be a lot more information coming out. When bad things happen, even if you say sorry, even if you have an explanation, it doesn't necessarily matter at times. So I understand that people want to hear, they have these expectations in their mind that they want to hear X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, even if that person is able to deliver that verbiage, it's still not going to make a difference. Whatever happened did in fact happen. So I'm not defending Sam. I'm not defending FTX. I'm not defending anything. All I'm saying is I think regardless, it's still going to be a negative outcome. For anything that he says. I'm sure there are people helping him, PR-wise, writing these things, getting this information out. I would hope so. I would hope that he's got legal. And again, I do hope that they are able to do something positive with customer funds. That those are other reports. I know we'll segue that into my story later. But again, there's so much information coming out. It's kind of hard to keep track at this point. Zach?
It really is hard to keep track. I mean, let's assume that it was a genuine and heartfelt apology. I think the language in there would indicate that it was. But I think as more reporting is coming out, again, the level of craziness that was associated with this is really quite scary. And the fact that FTX has unwound itself extremely quickly. And we have SBF now seeking remedy, whether that's through other partners in the crypto space, as we'll discuss later, or through other people who are willing to make a bet on him. That's what he's looking to do. He's looking to raise the funds to make his customers whole. It's a noble goal. Let's hope he can do that. But right now, based on Binance looking under the hood and saying, whoa, wait a minute, no, we're not doing that, and additional reporting coming out, it may be hard for SBF to secure the funding that he's going to need to make sure that his customers do become whole. So it's going to be remarkable to see how this unfolds over the next, I guess, the remainder of this week and into early next. But I can only imagine the behind the scenes machinations going on right now in terms of reaching out to people who may be able to extend FTX a lifeline at this present moment in time. Jen, what are you thinking?
I just off of Wendy's comment, I wanted to issue a public service announcement. Probably about 6 months ago, I had a friend who wanted to buy a sizable amount of Bitcoin and had never purchased any crypto before. And I suggested, if you're going to buy that much Bitcoin, you probably want to put it in cold storage. And the response I got was, I really don't trust myself with something like that. I would rather have it on a centralized exchange. I think that this is a great example of why you don't want to keep a large amount of money that you plan on holding for a long time on a centralized exchange. And a misconception with cold storage or having a hard wallet is that if you lose that device, you've lost all of your money. That is not true. As long as you have your seed phrase, you have access to your funds. So there are other options than centralized exchanges. And if you are still interested in investing in Bitcoin, this is not the only way to get into it.
Interesting little footnote here is that, crypto prices are up today on strong macroeconomic indicators. So interesting to watch the prices sort of taking a little bump despite all the mania that's going on around this major story with FTX and Alameda on some indicators in the broader sort of macroeconomic world. Bitcoin and other assets are up today, which is quite interesting to see given how tumultuous the news has been over these last couple of days. We're going to change gears. I'm going to throw it to Wendy for last word, and then we'll switch it over. But Wendy, what are your thoughts?
Before we talk about crypto volatility, because that's why everybody's here, I think it is important to kind of piggyback and go back to what Jen was saying on the responsibility of owning your keys and what that means. And I think that it is definitely a hard concept for people because we are used to just leaving our money in a bank and assuming everything's fine. And especially Americans, we think, okay, we'll leave our money in a bank. But in actuality, just because your money is in a bank doesn't mean that it's your money because you don't actually have physical contact with it. And banks do similar things as they do lend other people's money out. We do know that we have some strict laws and protections that are supposed to help that. But at the same time, I feel like most of the DMs that I'm getting from people right now are like, Wendy, what exchange do I trust? Where do I go to buy my crypto? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like what I'm telling people is I'm telling people to wait till we see proof of reserves from a lot of different exchanges. And then you can go ahead and do your due diligence that way. And I'm glad that CZ actually set that precedent. And I know we talked about that yesterday, was having proof of reserves, the Miracle Tree, all of that out so that customers can actually decide which exchange might be the safest. But yeah, it's going to be rough for quite some time.